So when I first came to Costa Rica, I was really, really anxious just in general. I had never been outside of the country on my own before, and I was really concerned because I'm a disorganized person that I was going to end up in Costa Rica without any of my ID, not being able to speak Spanish very well, and I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to handle that situation.
When I first arrived, I was really overwhelmed, and I wasn't expecting this. This was kind of a surprise, but I was so overwhelmed with the idea of I'm living in France. You know, I'm not vacationing, I'm not a tourist, I am a citizen here. These streets are going to be my streets soon. I'm going to get to know this bakery. I was so overwhelmed with how excited I was to be living in the place.
Getting to Indonesia was interesting because that was the first time that I'd ever really been the only American around. So at first that was pretty terrifying and it felt like a lot of responsibility being a representative of my country like that, but it ended up feeling really cool.
The thing I had said before about how the family is much more involved in your work life and also your love life. So I didn't realize this at the time, but when I was visiting with extended members of family and friends, apparently I was checking someone out without noticing it, but my parents immediately picked up on that, asked me what I thought about that person, and when I said that I thought she was cute, they called her almost instantaneously, and I ended up in a conversation with this person and had to explain to them that that wasn't really what I was looking for in my study abroad experience, was to get into that sort of relationship. That turned awkward really quickly.
Well, there's one distinct time I lived with different homestay families throughout my semester abroad, and one of the homestay families lived in a village, and we went to a church service in a little hut that was obviously not air conditioned, and the service lasted 3 hours, and it was dancing and singing, very warm and energetic and a great experience, kind of exhausting, but we got out of that service all like excited about it but ready to be done, and we were told we were going to walk another 2 miles to another church service in another hut with another 50 people packed into a little hut. And we did that, sat through another, or danced through another 3-hour service, and we were told we were going to another one after that, another mile away. And for that one, I think part of being able to adjust is realizing, like, yes, do it for a while, but it's okay if you can't do it any longer.
Well, one of the hardest things for me to get used to was actually something, a cultural difference that I knew that I was going to have to deal with, and that was les bises, which are the French cheek kisses. And they're for friends, they're for family, they're for people you meet for the first time, and it's always a little awkward. Do you do the right cheek first, the left cheek first? Depending on where you are in France, it's 2 kisses, 3 kisses, 4 kisses, so just getting used to that was a challenge.
I feel like the piece of advice I would give is just don't hide in your room. Don't surround yourself just with the people from your program who might be from the States. What I loved about my program was it focused on homestay and cultural immersion. So you weren't just living with the family. I would highly recommend a homestay program if you can. But you were also learning the language, which is a great way to connect with the people around you, and then applying the language in a village or going into the marketplace and talking with the people, bartering in their language, and that's just, yeah, such a great way to actually get in there and learn the culture and be a part of it.
It's important to just not be afraid and really sort of put yourself out there. And aside from that, I would suggest really trying to get to know your neighborhood. Try to familiarize yourself with, like where I was in France, the bakeries nearby, the grocery stores, and don't be afraid to kind of strike up small talk with people, because the more you can develop sort of a rapport and kind of make your experiences familiar, the more you'll start to feel comfortable.
So be open-minded and don't be afraid of trying new things, because like one thing that I figured out in Germany is sometimes I thought I don't like eating any meat and I wasn't going to try anything. But when I went to Germany, everyone's like, you should try this, you should try that. And I did try a little bit of everything, and something just became my new favorite kind of meat. And it's just be open-minded of trying all the new things that you will encounter in a different culture.
The moment when I felt most adjusted in Costa Rica was when I was sitting on the couch, watching a telenovela, understanding all of it, and then in addition to that, all of the cross-chatter between my family I was also getting. I just completely understood everything that was happening on a linguistic level in this one room of this one house in Costa Rica. And that was when I felt at home.
My sisters were dancing, showing me a Zulu dance that they learned at some point, and I decided to just stand up and try and dance with them. And I think that was a surprise to them. It was a surprise to me that I was actually going to try and do it instead of just, staying by myself and not taking that risk.
Someone told me before going to France is that you know you're fluent when you can make a joke in the second language. So it was probably not until a month in at my homestay family I said something at the dinner table, and my host mom laughed really hard at it, and it was this like light bulb moment of like, I finally I'm one step closer to fluency. I can make jokes in the language.
I would say the biggest part of the reverse culture shock was just how impersonal living in the States is. When you're in Costa Rica, you go to the same market, everyone knows each other, and everyone is on a last name basis. I had to go to Costa Rica to come to this realization, but you can spend an entire day in the United States buying groceries, going to movies and doing entertaining things, and not meet anyone or talk to anyone. And in Costa Rica, that would be incredibly strange.
I had really mixed emotions coming back to the U.S. because part of me was really excited to get back to my friends and family, but I also really didn't want to leave Spain. And when I got back, it was great. I was really happy to see my friends, and they were all really excited to see me and hear about my trip and see pictures, but it was a little bit difficult, I guess, to relate to everybody because I went abroad earlier on. I went abroad second year, so none of my other friends had been abroad yet, so they couldn't quite relate to what I had been through. So I found resources in the study abroad was really useful because it gave me outlets to other people that had experienced what I had experienced.
Coming back to UVA after about 8 months abroad was actually more difficult than I thought that it was going to be, just because I always wanted to share everything with all my friends, but not everybody could really relate, and eventually I sort of learned that there were some things that I could just keep to myself and use to reflect personally, and some things I could talk to parents about, and some things I could talk to other teachers about, and it provided a cool opportunity to get to know other international students and other people who had studied abroad who really could relate to my experiences. So it's broadened my horizons a lot back at UVA, which is